Start by acknowledging the Tasmanian Aboriginal people, the traditional owners of the land in which we meet today, and recognise elders past, present, and emerging. So, welcome to the Selling Online Boost Your Sales with E-commerce tonight. So, I'm Kel from Business Tasmania, and I'll be talking a little bit later. And so, what I would actually like to do now is I will be handing over to Taihlaura from Kingthing to present on this topic, which I know that you're also very keen to hear about. And the presentation Taihlaura is doing is supported by the Department of State Growth. So I'll hand over to Taihlaura now.
Thank you, Kelly. I'm just going to share my screen so that you can all see the slides for this evening. And I just want to check that you can all see that.
We can, thank you.
Beautiful. So thank you so much for coming along on a Wednesday evening to listen to me talking all about how to sell online and boost your sales with e-commerce. I'm really excited to be here talking about this topic. It's something I'm really, really passionate about. I have a soft spot for the retail space, having been a retail manager for the first part of my working life. And so for me, I see it as a big opportunity that not only can you take your bricks and mortar retail, but you can now take it online, which is now my second part of my working life love, which is making sure that we're marketing online and reaching people across the globe. So before we begin tonight, I'd also like to honour the Tasmanian Aboriginal community, their elders past and present, and thank them for caring for the place we all call home. In this workshop, and I apologise, I've already had a spelling error, just showing you how human this is written, not through AI. Tonight's session, we're going to dive into a couple of different things. And I think the thing that I want to make sure I say up front is that while we do touch on each of these different topics, obviously we can explore each of these a little bit deeper. And there will be some other videos available to you through Business Tas later in the year that will take a deeper dive into some of these topics and might be useful for you to watch. But it gives you a really good starting point and also hopefully some golden nuggets to help you get started or some ideas that you could then turn into something really great for your business. So in tonight's workshop, we're going to look at understanding the importance of your customer journey, the key elements for building a successful e-commerce site, how to optimize your website for search engines and attract more visitors, effective strategies to target and convert customers through paid advertising, using regular emails and automation to nurture customer relationships and boost sales, how loyalty programs can encourage repeat business, and then leveraging influencers to expand your reach and drive sales. So first, I thought we should just take a little step back and look at why should you be selling online? What's the reasoning behind this? So through some research that the Australian government do each year in conjunction with Australia Post, they actually take a deep dive look into our behaviour when it comes to online shopping. So from the most recent report, which was conducted in late 2023, early 2024, the rise of online shopping is growing each and every year, and it's growing at a fast-paced rate. So 1 million households are currently shopping online. By 2033, it's predicted that 1 in every $3 will be spent online. And interestingly enough, the sector that's really thriving in this space are bricks and clicks retailers. So these are the people who have a bricks and mortar retail site, but they also have an e-commerce online site that helps blend that experiences for customers so that they can capture them at every stage of the journey and also during their different life stages where they might be able to come in store versus when they might find it easier to shop online. The reason that most of the online shopping behaviour has changed over the recent years is that our habits have evolved. So we now want that freedom to be able to browse and buy anything at any time from anywhere. So this has been driven by many factors, such as our increasingly busy lifestyles where we're always on the go. So we just need to think, oh, I need to get that birthday present for someone. So I'll just quickly jump on my phone and I'll order that from that shop. I'll even order it click and collect and I'll go and get it in my lunch break. We're also seeing the emerging rise of digital platforms, whether that be through apps or more user-friendly website that make it super easy for us to really click a couple of buttons and then have something delivered straight to our door so that we tick another shopping purchase off our list. Through global events such as COVID-19, it definitely changed the way in which we do shop, because it did encourage us to shop online because we weren't able to visit those sites as often as we may have in the past. So this has probably sped up the process a little bit, but it also has helped encourage the fact that people after COVID did want to return to retail sites, but they also still wanted that option to shop online. And that's why there's been that growth in that bricks and clicks retailers that I spoke about back here on this slide. And then also the ever-growing influence of social media. Social media is a beast of its own, and it's continuously changing the way in which we do things. And there's no exception when it comes to how we shop online. It's definitely driven through paid advertising and organic posting, the way in which we do shop, and making sure that we do swipe up and add that item to our cart and continue on with the rest of our day, and then wait a week or two for that to turn up at our doorstep. So when it comes to e-commerce, and particularly here in this retail space, this is just really looking at why it is important. So it expands our reach beyond our local customers. So for most of us, we might have a bricks and mortar site where we do have customers that come and visit us each and every day, but not all of those customers may live here within the Launceston area. So by having an online website, we're able to reach a greater amount of people in a wider space too. So we don't have to just go to Tasmanians if we don't want to. We can go further. We can target all of Australia. We can go global if that's what we're wanting to do. The potential is endless. And so we want to make sure that we can reach as many people with the product that you have to offer. It also allows people to do it when it works for them. So for those people who are shift workers, sometimes being able to go into a retail site might not be convenient for them because maybe they're sleeping or maybe they're busy doing other activities. And so by having the option to shop online when it's convenient for them, it means that they can just do it and to suit their lifestyle rather than having to be constricted to the hours that your business is open. It also helps enhance that customer experience. The more convenient we can make it for them, the more that they feel like they can trust you and that they can do everything that they need to with you. And it's also a really great way for us to be able to leverage data for our business. So a lot of the time when people do come into our bricks and mortar retail sites, we find it hard to collect a lot of data, where when they do shop online, we are provided a lot more information about that person because of the information that they need to input in order to be able to make that transaction. And that's really important for a business because that's going to help us understand who our target audience is and who it is that we want to attract to our business, whether that be in store or online. Now more than ever, we need to make sure that our customers know who we are and what we have to offer them. So we need to make sure that we understand who they are that we're wanting to reach, and then be able to provide them that product so that we're servicing the need that they're after or the problem that they're facing. So that's a little bit about why we suggest having an online e-commerce site. So now we're going to take a little bit of a look at understanding your customer journey. So this bit is really important, and it's the piece before you do any of the work in that online space, because you really do need to understand these elements in order to be successful with your e-commerce site. So the first thing to think about is, who is your target audience? You need to have a really clear idea about who your product is for. This is going to make it easier for you to be able to sell that product when you are doing website copy or creating paid marketing ads, because you're going to be able to utilize language that resonates with that particular person and be able to sell them something that solves a problem for them. So if you haven't already, it would be a really good idea to create a customer profile or profiles, depending if you have a couple of different audiences that you're trying to reach. And the idea around this is to name them up as a person, what they would look like in terms of their age and their demographics, and then think about what other information do we need to know about this person. So what channels do they like to use when it comes to social media? What online tools do they like to utilize? What are the hobbies that they do on a weekend? And so we want to understand as much information about these people as possible, so that when we're doing our work, we can say, are we talking to Chloe, and making sure that we're reaching out Chloe's. So just as a way of example, these are how some people, I guess, make a shorter version of our customer profiles so that they've got them named up. They're saying what their gender is, what their age range is, and what they're interested in. So what is that main interest point, so that we can make sure that as part of our conversations when we are selling our product, we can make sure that we tap into those interests to really get their intrigue and get them interested in our product. We can also think about their buyer persona. So this is really important to us because we want to understand what they value so that we can make sure that when we're communicating our product, that we're covering those values in that language, because that's going to resonate more with them, and then they're going to be able to take that next call to action to actually purchase the product. So it is something that I would highly encourage. If you haven't done this piece of work, this is the thing that you should start with. And there is some great resources on the web online about creating customer profiles. One of the ones that I love is utilizing HubSpot. So this is where this example actually comes from tonight. So HubSpot take you through an entire template and will work with you through all of the different questions on how to create those customer profiles. And when Kelly sends the slides around, I'll include a link to that particular page about how you can create that customer profile utilizing that website from HubSpot. So from there, once you understand your target audience, it's important to then think about what's that customer journey for that target audience. So what are the different touch points that we're going to have with them along that path to when they make a purchase, to then also after they make that purchase. So there's a couple of different stages that people go through when they're making a purchase. And so we need to make sure that we have a touch point with them in each of these stages. So the way that it works and looks like is there's the first stage, which is awareness. So this is where they discover your brand. And so this could be through social media, utilizing SEO, which is your search engine optimization on Google, or it could be through paid advertising on Google or Meta. The next phase is consideration. So this is where they browse your website, and they're potentially comparing products from other competitors, and then they're looking for a review. So they're looking to see what are other people saying about your products, and are they as good as what you're saying they are. They just want some more confidence and to build some trust within that brand as to whether or not it's the right purchase for them. The next phase is purchase. So this is where they decide to buy, but might hesitate due to unclear pricing, shipping costs, or a complicated checkout. So that's why we want to make sure that we make those processes really easy and really clear for people so that they do complete that purchase. And then the next stage is post-purchase. So this is where they receive the product, and then we want to make sure that once they've received that product, that then they decide that they'll want to buy again and recommend you to other people so that you can continue to grow your customer base and also increase your returning customer rate. So it is really important that at each stage we do map out those different touch points, and we will go through some of these touch points in how you can actually reach those people in tonight's presentation. But it's a good idea, once you've heard all of the content from tonight's presentation, to start thinking about what is that customer journey and where would I map out these touch points along that to make sure that I am in the awareness, consideration, purchase and post-purchase phases. And just as a way of example, this is one where they do have a couple of different extras. So they've also got in their retention and advocacy, but that's more around that post-purchase as well. And they've just mapped out what they're doing online and also in store to actually touch base with those customers and make sure that they become a continuous customer through the next few years. The other thing that you might like to do alongside the customer journey is to actually think about a sales plan for the year. So some of you may do this as campaign plans, and some of you might do this as an overarching calendar for the next 12 months. So basically what it is it's a calendar of all your key promotions and special events for the year. So it's a way for us to integrate any new product launches or relaunches that you're having, any exclusive drops of new product or old product. That's going to create some excitement and anticipation for your customers. But it's also tapping into different sale periods, whether that be through shopping seasons, special occasions, or business milestones, and providing an additional way to engage with your audience. So for most of us, when we are online shopping, we'd start to become familiar with some of these things. So I think it was only 2 weeks ago, we had one of those, what they refer to as a special shopping season, which was referred to as the after payday sales. So that's where businesses could tap into, if they're utilizing that as a payment service, that they could offer a special discount for that 4-day period, that customers could then access that sale. Some other examples of sales seasons might be things such as Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So that's probably one of the biggest shopping events of the year, particularly in this e-commerce space. It's growing every year within Australia. We're starting to see more and more people hold off and doing all of their Christmas shopping during those Black Friday sales. I think last year the stats were that 74% of us did majority of our Christmas shopping through the Black Friday sales. So people are buying things at that time of the year. So maybe it is worthwhile mapping out on that sales plan that you will do something during that period, even if it's not a percentage off, even if it's a value add. People will still see that as an exciting offer and then take advantage of that in the lead up to that Christmas rush. It's really interesting because a lot of businesses that do participate in the Black Friday sale, they'll even call out and say that these sale prices aren't even the best sale prices that they've had for the entire year. But people have this perceived idea that because it's Black Friday, it has to be a good offer. So they don't even realize that they're not even getting the best offer that that business has offered for the entire year. They're just willing to spend because they're already in the mindset that they're ready to shop. Some other things that you can think about, though, in terms of those shopping seasons are summer and winter sales. So these are a great way to clear out some seasonal inventory with some time-sensitive discounts to make room for that new stock. Anniversary sales, so if you've got a birthday in your business, maybe you could do a special discount or an exclusive offer or a giveaway for everyone who actually makes a purchase during that time period. And the other one that we've seen popping up a little bit lately is flash sale Fridays. So this might be where you run a weekly or a monthly flash sale around a specific product or category. So you might have something in your store that you really want to focus on, and that's what you do as part of that monthly flash sale. So this is just an example of a type of monthly flash sale. So Adore Beauty at the moment have an online only special where you can spend and save. So if you spend $99, you'll get $15 off. If you spend $249 or more, you get $50 off. And all you have to do is use the code SAVE when you're checking out. But what they're trying to do is make sure that they're tapping into what they would refer to as a shopping sale and get people to actually spend more into their cart. Are there any questions around the customer journey or sales plans before we move on?
So far in the Q&A to Laura, but by all means, anyone who has a question, raise their hand or use the Q&A and I can pose the question to Laura for you. So all good. Thank you.
No worries. And so now that we've kind of understood who our target customer is, we've potentially mapped out what that journey looks like for them and the different touch points that we want to have with those customers and our sales plan for the year. It's time to actually make sure that we've got our online stores set up for success so that we can make sure that our customers can easily purchase everything that they're after off your website. So for those of us here who don't have a website yet, these are just some platforms that we suggest that might help you get started. So some of the most popular ones are Shopify. So this is really user-friendly. It's an all-in-one solution with built-in tools for marketing, payments, and inventory. It's really great for beginners and growing businesses. In my opinion, it's one of my favorite e-commerce platforms, but I am biased because I like to build on that one. But it is just a really easy to use platform. And if you do have team members in store that might be helping fulfill those orders, it's really easy for them to be able to jump on and understand how that website works. It's also great for stores who do have a bricks and mortar site because you can actually get Shopify POS so that you can make sure that your website and your internal POS systems talk to each other so you can't oversell products. And so I do really like that as a website because it does have that compatibility with that in-store POS. Another popular option is WooCommerce. So for those of us who might have a WordPress website, this is a plugin that comes with our websites. It offers flexibility and customization. So particularly great for those of us who might be selling products where maybe we need to ask for age verification. So for example, if you were a wine business, you might use a WooCommerce website for your e-commerce of selling the wine, because we're able to set up customizations where people have to put in their birth date in order to be able to purchase that product. Another popular one that's very similar to Shopify is BigCommerce. It's not as big here in Australia, but it is starting to really enter the market, and one to probably keep an eye on. If you want to have a look at it, it's great for scaling up the business and really suited for that larger business with higher volume sales. So if you're really looking to scale up, that could be something to have a look at. And then for those of us who are maybe small businesses and we're wanting to dabble in this space, but we're not quite sure if we're ready to commit to a full e-commerce website, we might want to start with something like Squarespace or Wix. They're really great for being able to do some of those e-commerce capabilities, but also allow us to have lots of other information on our website that people might be interested in. So once we've decided what our website platform is, it's important to then consider what's when we are looking at deciding what platform is right for our business, these are some of the things that I would keep in mind, just so that you can think about what's that longevity of that platform look like. So the first thing is always going to be ease of use. Is it something that you can manage yourself, or will you need a developer to do? When it comes to e-commerce, it is a really important thing that you do understand a little bit about how it works, because you probably are going to be the person that's uploading the product, who's going on there to see what orders are coming in and how you need to fulfill them. So you need to feel comfortable and confident enough that you would be able to do that with the system that you're choosing, or maybe you would employ someone to be able to do that and that has that skill set. The other thing is scalability. So you might be at a certain point in your business that's down here, but you might want to grow up here. So does that platform allow for that scalability? Is it something that we look at starting with a base thing like Squarespace or Wix for now, and then maybe in a couple of months' time or a year's time, we look at maybe switching to something like Shopify as we continue to grow? Or do we just bite the bullet and use something like Shopify now so that we don't have to recreate that whole building process? And then just start to scale up from there utilizing that platform. The other thing to keep in mind is, what are those other marketing tools that you might already be utilizing in your businesses, and do they actually work on those website platforms? You will find that majority of them do, but it is always a good thing to check. So if you've got an email marketing platform that you're using and you want to just double check that that works, or even an accounting software or a POS software, it can be a good idea to just do some research and see what platforms it is compatible with. And then the other thing is cost. So each of these different platforms do have different costs associated with them. So it is a good idea to know, what are those monthly fees? What are the transaction costs for the different payment systems that that platform utilizes? And are there any additional expenses? So what I mean by the additional expenses, and I'll use Shopify as an example because they're probably the main one that do this, is that they have a base monthly fee for you to utilize that platform. On top of that base fee, if you want to utilize some of the functionality, you have to pay. Sorry, guys.
Okay, when you pause in a moment, Taihlaura, I've got a great question too when the time's right.
No worries. Sorry, I'm just choking on air.
You can chat now if that helps you.
That would be great. Sorry, thank
All
you.
right, no, that's it. Have some water, and I've got a great question. Why do you classify scaling up from Squarespace to Shopify?
Great question. I think the reason being is that Squarespace is really good, and I will say Squarespace e-commerce has come a long, long way. So I've been at Kingthing now for 6.5 years, and the growth that that e-commerce platform has had has been phenomenal. But it also doesn't have a lot of the features on the base e-commerce plan. So what I mean by that is, yes, you can tag products on Instagram and Facebook now, but if I wanted to have discount codes, for example, I have to be on the top level plan on Squarespace, whereas that's just an intrinsic feature on Shopify. And that's something that a lot of e-commerce businesses like to utilize. Subscriptions are also on a higher base plan, where they're on the normal base level plan of Shopify. You'll also find some of the things, and this is what I was about to speak about before I started my coughing fit, with the additional expenses on Shopify, there might be tools such as pre-orders or notify me when stock is available. They're additional apps that you can link with your Shopify website, where those tools aren't available as of yet when it comes to Squarespace. So that's why we say it is a really great e-commerce tool, but it is more of a basic e-commerce tool compared to Shopify, where that's their core business. That's what they specialize in. And so they're always finding new additional, I guess, add-ons that you can add to that e-commerce website, so that you can then scale up your business or utilize different things. So for example, Shopify also now allow you to create an app version of your website into a Shopify app. So for some bigger e-commerce retailers, that's a really important thing that they want to have. We can't do that with Squarespace. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea.
Yeah, there's just a quick follow-on to Laura, if that's okay. So therefore, how easy or hard is it to change from Squarespace to Shopify if you have quite an established creative website on Squarespace?
Well, I just did this recently, and I would like to say it's really easy, but I don't want to lead you astray. So basically what we can do through Squarespace is we can export all of the products that we do have uploaded on our website, and then we can re-upload that list to Shopify. But you will need to customize all of that design element again. And that can be a little bit, I guess, time consuming to be able to do that. So it is just weighing up whether or not it's worthwhile doing that. Or maybe it's worthwhile having a look at what does the package prices look like on some of those top tier plans for Shopify, for Squarespace's e-commerce capabilities, or is it worthwhile putting my time and effort into actually redoing it all on Shopify?
Thanks to Laura.
No worries. So once you've kind of decided what the best platform that it is that you want to use, these are some things to just keep in mind, to make sure that we're offering our customers so that we're setting our websites up for success. So the very first thing is user experience and design. There's nothing worse than going to a website and it's not easy to use. You can't click on a product and say add to cart, and then you can't find the cart, so you don't know how to complete the purchase, or there's 300 buttons that you need to press in order to get to that actual final result of putting in your card details. So we want to make sure that when we are setting up our websites, that they are really clean and that they're easy to use. The pages load fast so that people can find the product that they're looking for and they can complete that purchase. We know that people lose customers when they have slow websites. So I think the magic number sits around, we've got around 7 seconds for our pages to load. Otherwise, people might wander off to a competitor's website. And then simple checkout processes. So if you have a million different add-ons that people can add to their cart experience, or it's not easy to be able to find that cart, you might actually lose people. And so we want to reduce that cart abandonment and make sure that people are actually completing that checkout process. So what I have here are just some examples of different websites that I've just got from around Australia, of some websites that have a really easy and clear user experience so that you can find what you're looking for really quickly. So this is just an example of one that is a health and wellness product. And so they have put each of their products into different categories to make it easier for you to then find what you're looking for and then make that purchase. Again, if you can't tell, I clearly like my active space. This is another website where they break it down into a really great navigational tab. They make it really easy for us to see the product. We can see if it's a popular style. They even call out if a product has no pockets or pockets, so that we can then continue to say, yes, I want to look at that product in greater detail. And then this one's just an example of how you can even have different products that really stand out. You can see that there's different color combinations in which you could get that particular product, or if a product's on sale at the time. So you can see that that offers us a discount by having that little orange box at the top and how much you're saving. So another essential feature to think about are what are the payment gateways that you have on your website. So it is becoming increasingly important to offer, I guess, various options when it comes to payments. So this is where we would have that credit and debit facility. You might also have PayPal. You could also have the PayPal buy in 4 payments, or other pay now services like Afterpay or ZipPay. While most of us don't like using those services, there are people that do love using those services. So it's important that we cater for all of those types of people who are visiting our website, and making sure that there's an option to suit all of them, and ensure that they make that purchasing happen. The other thing is to make sure that our website checkout is secure. So most of the platforms, or all of the platforms that I mentioned before, they actually have a secure checkout process. So they're embedded with what's known as an SSL encryption. And basically that's some code that is created by the people who make those platforms to ensure that when people do check out on those sites, that it is as secure as it can be. It can't be hacked easily, so that people can get card information, and that it makes customers feel more safer because they see that lock symbol and they know that it's a safe checkout process.
Laura, just while you pause, I've got a question. Is there an online store that also works with an online POS system like Square, mostly for stock balance? One of our guests is investigating online POS at the moment, and only just realised that linking would be a huge benefit.
Yep, yeah, and it is. It makes it so much easier for you. With Square, because you can have Square POS, they actually do have their own website as well. So it's called Square Websites. Previously, they used to just be free as part of your POS package, but I believe now they're shifting to more of a paid model. I personally haven't done too much in that space, but it is something that I am starting to see pop up a lot more, because it does make it easier when they can link. So if you are using Square, it could be a good idea to have a look at that as a website platform. The one thing that I have found whenever I have looked at Square in the past is that it doesn't give us a lot of flexibility in terms of that design like Squarespace or Shopify or WooCommerce lets us have through a WordPress website. But definitely something you can have a look at and see if that works for you, particularly if you're starting out in this space.
Laura.
So another really important feature when it comes to websites is to make sure that it is mobile responsive. So 70% of e-commerce traffic comes from a mobile device. So your site must look and function well on mobile phones, because we want to make sure that they are not getting off your website because it doesn't load properly on a mobile screen. Again, all of those platforms that I spoke about before, they do have mobile responsive design as part of those platforms, whether you edit that for mobile, so you can make sure it's customized completely, or most of it will also automatically resize. But it is a good idea whenever you are building a website just to double check what it looks like on mobile, just to ensure that it is easy for customers to be able to make a purchase on your website. And then something that's really important if you do have that bricks and mortar site is to make sure that we are offering click and collect. So this is where people can purchase that product online, but then they can come and pick it up in store. And a lot of the time you'll find that click and collect is offered as a free of charge option. And it's a way that we can then get them to make that purchase online about what it is that they're after. And maybe they're doing that because of a time convenience factor, or they're trying to ensure that they're getting a particular product. I know for myself today, I did it on a book. I really wanted one of the new releases. So I jumped on and I've ordered it as click and collect because I didn't want to miss out, but I will then go into that shop and I'll collect it tomorrow. Where if I just waited until my lunch break tomorrow, I might have missed out on that book, for example. The benefit of offering click and collect, though, while you think that then just coming in to pick up that item, a lot of the time we find when people do come in to click and collect their packages, they actually end up having a look around the shop and sometimes make additional purchases. So then that cost average basket size for that customer does increase, and so they become a really valuable customer to us. So definitely would encourage you, if you do have that bricks and mortar site, to offer that click and collect service so that you can get people coming in and picking up their orders, but also then hopefully looking at other things that they might see when they're in the store and increasing their sale. So probably the biggest thing on a website when it comes to e-commerce that's really important is to make sure that your product listings and descriptions are really easy for people to understand, and it gives them all of the information that they need to make that decision. So some things that I would suggest is to make sure that you have high quality images and videos on that page. It's a good idea to have a couple of different options so that they can go through those. They can also zoom in on the features, or they could see what it looks like out and about if it was a lifestyle. Maybe it's some clothing, and they can see what it might look like if you were at the movies, for example, or out for dinner.
Laura, while you're coughing, I'll jump in and talk for a second with another question to help you out.
I do
We've got
apologize
a
about this.
Oh,
Sorry.
no, that's totally okay. So, a question we have here is what subscription services or apps are good for Shopify, in particular, affordable ones for low numbers and variable times? For example, one customer chooses monthly while another chooses the club subscription every 3 months.
Um, I couldn't actually tell you the app off the top of my head, but I'm definitely more than happy if I can get that person's contact email address. I'm more than
Of
happy
course.
to have a conversation with you offline and do some
Hmm.
research about what that looks like. Just because there are so many different options. I know I do have one on a website that I have set up, but I actually can't tell you off the top of my head what that one's actually called.
Good. I can give you the email tomorrow. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, the purpose of having those different images and videos is so that they can really see what it would look like. They can zoom in, they can look at the fabric details, and I guess gather as much visual detail as possible about that product. Alongside that, we want to make sure we have a really detailed and concise description of the product. So in this, we want to highlight the benefits, the different materials that are being used, potentially the care instructions. If it is a clothing product too, I do suggest either on the product listing or somewhere else on your website, you do have a place where it kind of goes through what that sizing looks like. If it's very product specific, I would suggest it goes on the product page. If it's more of across the board for your entire business, you might have a sizing chart as its own page. But it is important to have that because that's going to help eliminate some of that returns that happen as a result of people purchasing online when it comes to clothing. And then making sure that when they are on that key product page, that it's really clear what the price is of the product and maybe some shipping information. If there's any hidden costs, that's when people then lose interest and they actually abandon that cart, which is not what we want.
Laura, can I jump in at that point with a couple of questions? Do you have a template for product listing and descriptions?
I don't have a template only because every website platform is different in terms of the way that you upload it. I guess the best thing too is to also think about it's going to be a little bit different for every business. Um, this is an example actually on my screen right now about how they've just got the name and then they've got some dot points around that product. I quite like how this is set up because I find the dot points are really easy to read. It tells me that key information straight away. I can see the sizes that are available. I can see that I can get free shipping. So it kind of tells me all of the information that I need to see at the moment. So I feel like it really does depend on the product and then the platform that you're using in terms of that template.
Okay, great. And just before you move on, another question is Etsy still a popular choice for craft business? And what are the pros and cons?
Yeah, great question. So Etsy is a really good platform for those of us who may like to dabble into the space or utilize it as another selling tool for online. I guess the reason that you might have I guess, your own website alongside an Etsy store is that then you can actually customize the keywords in which people are searching to get them to your actual website. Where with Etsy, we aren't allowed to be able to do that. We're kind of more relying on the fact that people might search that within Etsy and they may not do that. So we don't have a lot of control also in terms of the way that it looks on Etsy, where we have a little bit more control of that on our own website. I guess the benefit of being on Etsy, like I said, to either dabble or to go alongside a website, is that it's another tool for us to show people who are already interested in that craft space what our product range is and what we have to offer. Something that we're seeing more and more of, and it's a bit similar in the accommodation space, and I know that's not an e-commerce space, but people will use tools like Etsy and Airbnb and Booking.com. They will use that to do their research, and then they'll actually go and see if that business have their own website. And a lot of the time they'll actually make that purchase or make that booking through that business's own website, because they know that platforms like Etsy and Airbnb take a higher percentage fee. So it's really good for, I guess, brand awareness and making us introduce us to customers that maybe wouldn't have found us otherwise. But we do find that then they will go and research us to see if we do have our own website that they can complete that purchase on. Does that answer that question, or is there any follow-on questions around that?
There is another question that's come in, sort of a related, but slightly different. So, what is your advice for product descriptions for artworks and art workshops, which is interesting?
Oh, great one. I think
Mm.
artworks is a good one. And I think something that's really important with artwork is to make sure that you describe what that image is depicting. I know for some people, they need to, especially because art can be so um, personal and people can interpret it in different ways. It's a good idea, just like you would in store, I guess, or in an art gallery, have a bit of a description of what that art piece is actually describing. I would then have the measurements of how big that art piece is, and maybe if you do offer it unframed and framed, have the different measurements based on that. Because I know even the other day I was purchasing a piece of art, and so I measured it based on the unframed, not realizing that I ordered the frames, then I had to remeasure the space. So it is a good idea to make sure that that's clearly articulated on it. But other than that, all of the other information would be very much similar to any product. But it is, yeah, I think the most important things is describing what it is and then what the size of that artwork is. When it comes to art exhibitions, are you selling that as like an event that they can come to?
It was described as art workshop, so I would imagine so,
Okay,
yes.
sorry, yeah. So with the art workshop, what I would make sure is that you kind of do a bit of an overview of what that art workshop is, and then maybe some dot points about what's included in that workshop, the key details about the time that it's ran, um, where they need to go, maybe even thinking what they need to bring along, just all those details that might help people understand all of the information that they need to know if they were participating in that workshop. Um, yeah, hopefully that helps.
So, Laura.
So alongside our other pages on the website with our products, these are just some other pages and what their purposes are that are going to help us convert our customers. So the very first one is our home page. So this is where our first impressions really come in. So for a lot of our website users, they are coming to our home page first. So we want to make sure that we have a lot of information that might help influence them to click on the other pages of our website. And so this is where we want to make sure we have clear brand messaging. So who we are and what we offer within seconds, what problem we're solving for people, maybe even calling out the problem that they might be facing to say that we're then going to come in and solve it with our product. Um, Highlighting featured products or promotions. So you could showcase some bestsellers, some new arrivals, or some limited time deals. Have a really clear, easy navigation so that they can find what information they need to quickly. So you might do this on the page in different subheadings. And then some social proof. So this could be testimonials, test badges, or other features that help build credibility. So by having them maybe on your footer or maybe towards the bottom of that homepage, it's just a really good way for people to learn a little bit more about you and see that it's not just your words, it's other words or other people that are recommending your product. An about page. So this is really important for building trust and connections. So customers only buy from brands they trust. So an about page should share your brand story. So why you started, what your mission is, what are your values. It might even talk a little bit about you as a person and what you like to do outside of work. If you've got some sustainability or ethical practices, you might like to include those there. You might also like to then have a page that goes behind the scenes of the business and introduces your team and the people that bring your products to life. And then also some customer testimonials or key achievements that you could highlight about the business throughout those pages is also another way to further build that credibility and trust with those people who are doing that deeper research to really understand who it is that you are and if their values align with purchasing before they purchase your product. An FAQ page. So this is really important for reducing those purchase barriers. So a lot of the time, these are common customer questions. We might also get asked these by email or direct message on social media. So it's about, I guess, having them on our website to give them that trust, but also hopefully cut back on some of your admin time where you do get asked these questions a lot. So a key to have on these pages is making sure that we've got information about our shipping, returns, and sizing. Even if you do have separate pages about these, I do always suggest having them on your frequently asked question page as well. It's just important to make sure that we cover all of our bases so that if people don't go to the individual pages and they only go to their FAQ page, we have that information there for them so it's really easy for them to find. If you've got certain product materials or sustainability or warranty details, again, if you get asked questions around that, really good to have that information on that page. And then anything else that you think is going to save you time for all of those questions that you do get asked. And then your contact page. So if somebody does have a question and they're not really sure what they and they need some reassurance on making sure that they can complete that purchase, make sure you have a contact page that's really easy to find. It might have a simple form that they can actually add their inquiry to, give them a really clear idea about when you'll get back to them. So it might be we'll get back to you within 24 hours of submitting it. And you might also like to include on that contact page some other options. So you might have an email number, a phone number, a live chat, or even a social handle that says you can message us on Instagram or you can message us on Facebook. So I know I mentioned these in the FAQs, but as I said, it is also a really good idea to have a separate page around our shipping and returns processes. This straight away sets a really clear expectation and often helps people feel a bit more confident and comfortable to make that purchase online. As for some people, that can be a boundary as to why they then don't purchase through an e-commerce website because they don't feel like it is easy to make a return, or maybe they don't understand the shipping costs around it. So I like to make sure that I have an individual page or at least a page that has the different subheadings around this. And it really makes it clear about what that looks like. So these are my shipping costs. These are the days that we deliver, and we will provide you that tracking information. I would even add things like asterisks, like it might be during your Black Friday sales or closer to Christmas time. There will be delays in shipping due to Australia Post. We apologise for the inconvenience, but please allow for extra time, or if you need it in a hurry, upgrade it to Express. Making sure our return and exchange policies are super clear, but also having the instructions on the website for them to refer back to about how they actually do that. So a lot of the time people might read it when they're making that initial purchase and think, oh, yep, no, that's really good, I can do that. But then when the time comes, they might not be clear on actually how they do it. So they'll actually log back onto your website to check. So it's a really good idea to also step through exactly what it is that they need to do for that particular process. And then also highlight what are the conditions around that. So if you are offering returns, it needs to be unworn in its original packaging, etc. So just really outlining that information for people to make it as clear as possible. And then our cart and checkout page, we want to make sure we optimize these for conversions. So this is where we offer I guess, the guest checkout. So for those who might not want to create customer accounts, we want to give them the option that they can check out as a guest, there's some research to say that if you force account signups, it actually causes a big drop off in terms of that conversion as a customer. So you don't want to force people to create an account. You want to give them the option or the option to check out as a guest. As I mentioned already, providing multiple payment options, so Afterpay, PayPal, Apple Pay. Use different trust signals, so have that secure checkout badges and that SSL encryption. And like I said, most of those already do automatically come on our checkout pages, so we don't need to worry about that. And then also making sure that those total costs are seen straight away so that people don't get through to this stage, see the cost of shipping, and then freak out and jump off and not even complete their purchase. A lot of the time, shipping can be a really big barrier for people, so it is important that we do outline that really clearly throughout our site straight away so that they're not surprised when they come to that checkout. So that's all about setting up the actual website itself. Are there any further questions in that space?
Moment, Taihlaura.
Beautiful. Well, we'll keep going along and always can come back to some more questions there. So once we have our website set up, it's also important to think about, well, how can we actually drive some traffic to our website? And the way that we're going to do that to start with is through SEO. So SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. And this is the process of improving a website's visibility in a search engine to attract more organic traffic. So the way in which we do this is we make sure that we find keywords that people are searching for when they're looking for your product or service for the problem that they're trying to solve. And we make sure that we set it up in the key spaces on our website. So this can be through our meta tags, on our alt image text, so that we can make sure that that Google understands what it is that we're wanting to tell people that product is and then get them to our websites. To make this a bit clearer, I'm just going to step through some of these processes and what that actually looks like. So the very first step when it comes to SEO is to make sure that we do some keyword research. While we might have a good understanding about what we think our customers might be searching when they're looking for our product, we do want to make sure that it is what they are actually searching for, because sometimes there can be just a word or two and we're just like, oh, I didn't think about that. So we want to make sure that we utilize some keyword research to just confirm that that is definitely the key phrase people are using when they are searching. So some of the tools that we might like to use for this are Google Keyword Planner or WordStream. So both of those are free and they allow us to just do some research to find out what that traffic source looks like and whether or not it's a good keyword to be utilizing on our website. The most important thing is when you are doing this is to think like a customer and what would you type into Google to find those products, and they're the sort of searches that we want to do. And we really want to focus on what's referred to as long tail keywords. So these are keywords like organic cotton baby blankets instead of just baby blankets, which is a short tail keyword. It's very broad, where if we're a bit more specific about the organic cotton baby blankets, people are going to be able to target and find the exact product that they're looking for. And so we can make sure that that product that we do have that's organic cotton actually targets those specific shoppers. So once we've done our keyword research and we've decided what that looks like for each of our products and pages on our website, we then need to add them to our products on our actual website, but also to the pages. So the first thing when it comes to products is to make sure that that keyword is in our product titles and descriptions. We want to keep it natural, but also include those relevant terms. So you can see in this example that the keyword is the ACME clothing ankle boots, ACMA clothing ankle boots, I guess. And so the way in which we would do that is that we would call the product the ACMA clothing ankle boots, and our description would be also utilizing that keyword of ACMA ankle boots, size 40, black woman. So we would say that instead of women's luxury black leather shoes, because the key phrase is ACMA clothing ankle boots. So we want to make sure we're including that in our title and also in our description so that Google knows that that's exactly what that product is and will send people to your website to purchase that product. Really important that you are looking at your product titles and descriptions if you are stocking branded stock. So what I mean by this is if you are a business who wholesales in other brands that might already have their own presence online and they have a really good brand reputation, make sure that you include that brand name and the actual description that they have on that product as your title and in your description of the product. The reason for this is even if they go into their local shop, maybe they've found a dress or a top that they really like, but they don't have their size in stock. They may then jump online and actually search the name of that product and that brand online to find any website who actually stocks the size that they're looking for. So it's a way for us to really, I guess, tap into that brand's reputation and that brand sizing that might not be available in that other site and offer them that actual product or to that customer. So really important if you are stocking branded products.
Laura, I've got a question on this topic. With keyword research, should you look at what people have used to find your website or your ranking when you put in a search keyword you think customers might use?
Great question. If you do already have some data there about what people are searching, it could be a good idea to utilize that because we know that that's what you're already being found for. I guess the only time where it might be more important to think about what customers are searching is if you feel like you're not getting the traffic that it deserves or that you know there's more traffic that could be tapped into. So that's where you might utilize more of that, what people are searching. It's about, I guess, finding that balance and using, I guess, the keywords that based on the traffic levels that you're actually after. Does that give a good overview? Is there any follow-up around that? Because I know it is quite confusing in that space, to be honest.
It is. No follow-up questions so far, but I'll let you know if we do.
Yeah. Yeah, SEO honestly is one of the most confusing headache things that I have ever do in marketing. It changes all the time and Google changes the way that it does things. It hasn't helped that we now have AI. We also have people searching via voice. So when people speak questions, they're completely different to how they would type questions. So it makes it really hard for us to really identify what it is that people are actually searching and then what is the actual best keyword that we can utilize to be able to attract them to our product or service. And so sometimes something that could go along with that other question too is that I might even create the same product or the same page for one of the keywords. So maybe it's based on the keyword that we know people are searching for when they're looking, and we'll utilize that. And then I might duplicate it and create a hidden page that also uses the key phrase around what we know people are searching already on our website, so that I'm targeting both of those key phrases, just as a way to make sure that I'm not missing out on any traffic. So then the next place that we want to think about utilizing our keywords is to make sure that we're integrating them into our headings and subheadings on the actual structured content within our pages. So you will have noticed, or you may not have noticed yet, but if you do jump into your website, when you're in there, there are a couple of different options for headings and subheadings, and these are normally called heading 1, heading 2, all the way through to heading 6. So these actually do have SEO purposes. So heading 1 should always include your main key phrase that you're trying to be found for on that page or on that product. And then your heading 2s through to 6 should touch on those other, I guess, key phrases that might come that are around that topic. But it's not as important to the Google search as that heading 1. So when Google first do their trawling of a website page, they will always look for that heading 1 first. So it is important to make sure that that key phrase is in that heading 1. And then also if you can weave it into those additional headings, that's really great. But the focus is always going to be on that heading 1. And then also making sure that we add our meta descriptions and ensure that our URLs are correct. So what I mean by this is that we want to make them clear. So a lot of the time when we create products, it will generate a URL that sounds really strange, like product 123. What we want to do is make sure that our keyword is actually a part of that actual URL. So that URL slug, for example, with that cotton baby blanket would actually be /organic-cotton-baby-blanket. So that helps because we've also got the keyword then in our URL slug. So meta descriptions, these are an example that I have here on the page. It's where we would actually add the key phrase that people are searching. So in this example, it's leggings for women. We would then make sure that we've got that in our heading and then our business name. And then we would also make sure we have the keywords of women's leggings within that actual text underneath it that describes what that page or that product's about. You'll also see the examples here where they haven't used that URL keyword, so it comes up a little bit ugly, where here where Victoria's Secret did call it the pink and then the yoga pants, it actually looks a little bit neater as well. And then lastly, we also want to make sure we're utilizing our keywords in our alt text on our images. So when it comes to people searching through the image library on Google, this is where they pull that information from. So we want to make sure that our alt text also includes our keyword so that people are searching through that image, our website comes up. The other function to know about when it comes to alt text is accessibility. And this is really important from a website perspective. Google are really starting to make sure that people are utilizing this feature because they want websites to be accessible for everyone. And so what this feature does is it allows those of us who might have a visual impairment and have an immersive e-reader installed on our computers to actually press a button and describe what that image looks like or what that product looks like. So in that image alt text, alongside utilizing that keyword that we want to be found for, we also want to include a description of what that image looks like so that those people can get an understanding about what that image actually depicts. So they're kind of the main key, the main places where you would embed those keywords from that keyword research. The other thing that to keep in mind is that a lot of the time when we do our keyword research is that it can, I guess, identify for us some other questions where we don't really know where they belong on our website because we don't have a page that they correlate to, or maybe it's a really more an in-depth question that we could flesh out as an actual, maybe a frequently asked question. And that's where it's important to consider actually making them a blog post. So blogging on your website is really important from that SEO perspective because then we can utilize some of those keywords to get people to our website, and then they might then go and explore our other pages and our products and make that purchase. So what we want to do is we can create, I guess, a question and really flesh it out through that blog. Not only does it help that SEO, but it also can help position our brand as an expert. So if there's certain topics, say you really focus on sustainability, you can look at some of those sustainability questions that are asked and be showcasing your brand as an expert in that space and showcasing the knowledge that you have around that topic. So some examples of some things that you could do as blog posts are product guides. So this could be how to style linen dresses for every season. It could be a comparison, silk versus cotton, which is better for sleepwear. And then the thing is, what you would do at the bottom of these particular blog posts is you would actually link to the products that you sell. And maybe you sell silk and cotton pajamas. So you could have a button that goes to your silk ones and then one that goes through to your cotton pajamas. It's also a great way for us to tell customer stories more in depth, so we can give those real life experiences and build that credibility through that narrative. And then behind the scenes, so if you are going to, say you have work with a factory overseas and you've gone over there to visit them to learn more about the sustainability efforts or the materials that you're purchasing from there, and you want to share that with your customers, you can use your blog to do that, so that you can really show that you do really value that, and this is the levels in which you would go to do that, and the information that you learned as part of that experience. When you are doing the blogs, just a hot tip, use some clear headlines. That's where you can also bring in some of those H1s through to H6. Use bullet points so people can find the information that they're looking for really quickly. And then again, including those internal links to different pages on our website that might relate to what you're actually talking about. So for example, in that sustainability one, you might link to your actual about page that talks about your sustainability efforts. You might also then mention a team member, so you might link to that team member's page. So just thinking about how can we also link to the other pages on our website through that blog post.
Laura, before we move on, could I pose a question for someone? do you know the proportion of searches that are via images or via text?
I don't know the stat off the top of my head, but the last time that I did look at the stat, it was more search based rather than image based. I don't feel like as many people are searching just on images anymore. It was really popular. So the reason that they started that, I guess, trend was when somebody, I think it was J-Lo, went to an awards and she was wearing a green dress and everybody wanted to know where it was and they were searching it. So everyone was doing it through the image search. And since then, it obviously has been a really important thing from a clothing perspective, but we're starting to see that drop off and people are more just using the normal search feature. It's also because that's the way that a lot of the time Google defaults to that normal search rather than that image search. So I think if people are just logging onto Google and asking that question, it's always going to automatically just load up their normal search page unless they've then clicked onto images and searched that way. So it's just the shift that we're seeing. But yeah, I don't know the stat exactly off the top of my head. Are there any other questions around SEO before we move on? I do understand it is a heavy topic, and there are so many elements that I could chat about it, but I have to summarize it in just a few slides, unfortunately.
So far, Taihlaura.
Cool. We'll move on to paid advertising. So these are a tool that we can use to help boost our sales and get traffic to our website as well. So these are about reaching people at the right time in that customer journey. So when we think about that customer journey and we look at that awareness and that research phase before they make that purchase, this is where paid advertising comes into play because a lot of the time this is how we can influence their decision to actually make that purchase. So it's a way for us to really hone in on who our target audience is and tell them about what we have to offer, even if they haven't heard about us. And so we want to make sure that we're then telling them about what our story is and then what product we actually have to offer them. One of my favorite things about paid advertising is that it also gives us trackable, measurable results. So when we use traditional methods of marketing, that might be radio, TV ads, newspaper ads, etc., we just get given data that is for everyone who might have listened to that radio station for that day. It's not specific to our ad. When we do paid ads, it's specific to our business and the people that have seen our ads and then clicked and purchased from our ads. In this space too, we're starting to see greater ways in which we can measure our results. So we can actually see from this ad, we had exactly this number of purchases, what that cost per purchase is so that we can work out whether or not that was a good way for us to spend our money and get people to see our product. So it is something that I do really love in this space to attract people to our e-commerce sites. It's also really good for retargeting. So for those of us who have been on a website before, we've had a look at the products and then we've jumped off and then maybe even a couple of hours later, we've jumped on our Facebook or our Instagram pages and we start to see all these ads from that business pop up on our feeds. It's because they're using retargeting tools. They're not stalking us. Well, they are in a way. And so they're using those retargeting tools to encourage us to go back to that website and complete that purchase. So if we think back to that customer journey, as I spoke about before, there are a couple of stages in which paid ads can tap into that space. So I just thought it could be a good idea to just go through what that looks like. So in that awareness phase, this is where we might use paid ads to introduce our brand. And we might use video and display ads on Google to do that. Consideration phase. So this is where we want to engage with potential buyers with search ads and retargeting ads. So this is an audience that has a bit of an idea about who we are and what we stand for, but maybe they need to learn a little bit more information so they feel confident to make that purchase. We then also might have ads running in that purchase phase, and that's where we're going to drive those conversions. And this is where we can use ads that offer discount codes. They're heavily shopping based and they often use urgency tactics. So this is the style of ad that I would say when I'm comparing to our organic social media posting, when it's more community focused and having a conversation. Our purchase ads are allowed to be 100% sales focused. They're allowed to have that creating that FOMO effect of limited time offer, final hours to shop, because that's what's going to push them across the line to make that purchase. And then our loyalty and advocacy stage. So that's our after post purchase stage. We can actually retarget past buyers with an upsell, maybe a referral or a VIP offer, so that we can get them to come back and make a purchase on our website. So I just thought it would be a good idea to actually just go through each of the different advertising platforms and the types of ads in which you can do on those platforms. So the first is Google advertising. So this is where businesses advertise on Google, and then their ad appears on the Google search results. It will also then appear through YouTube if you want to do YouTube advertising, and any other partner sites that they connect with. The way it works is you pay as a person clicks on their ad. So if they see it but don't click on it, you won't pay for it. And so that's a good thing, because it means then we're only paying for those who are actually genuinely interested in finding out more information about that product and what we have to offer. With our Google ads, we can actually use that keyword research that we did back for our SEO. We can also utilize that in our ads on Google, so that they can work hand in hand to boost that organic SEO, but also make sure that we're climbing to the top of that first page. We know that from research, when people see a Google ad on a search, when they're doing their search, they see a business's name as an ad, and then they scroll down and they see their organic listing on that homepage. They're actually more likely to click on that organic listing, because they can see a trust, because they can see they're investing in the advertising around that key phrase. So they must really want to focus in on that area, and it must genuinely be what they're offering. It's really good for increasing our website traffic, and also making sure that people come through to our website. So some different types of ads that are available are those search ads. So these are the ones, as you can see here in the example, they're our search ads. They say ad. They're really good for those keyword ones that I was just speaking about. Definitely more of a text-based ad, but it is a way for us to then see if people will then click through to our website. So this is for people who are really actively searching for your products or services. So they know exactly the brand that they're after, or they're looking for a very specific product. So you can see in this search, they were looking to buy a standing desk. And so that term standing desk to come up as a key phrase in those ad results for those products. The next option is display ads. So if you've been on a website before and it might be an article, you might notice that some of the products that you've looked at potentially on a website have now been retargeted to you as an ad on that particular page. So these are a great way for us to remind customers that they looked at these products, and to get them back to that website to actually complete that purchase. And then probably my absolute favorite for e-commerce are shopping ads. And so a lot of the time we now do them through Performance Max campaigns on Google. But this is where we actually have our product images. They have the price of the product. They also, a lot of the time, have the actual name of the product that people are searching for. And so when they are a visual representation when it comes to selling products online, people are more likely to convert, because they can see what that product looks like before even clicking through to that page. So really good if they're searching for a specific product that they want to buy. So that's Google ads. The other type of paid advertising that's really successful in this space is meta ads. So that's advertising through Facebook and Instagram. And then they also run those ads through the other tools that they utilize, such as Messenger and the Audience Network. So this is where we can target specific audience based on their demographic, interests, and behaviors, and even past interactions with the brand, whether that be through your actual social channels, the website, if you've got a Metapixel code installed, which is a code that we can set up on our websites to track anyone who's visited and then serve some ads to. So really important for that retargeting phase that I spoke about before. And it's a way for us to visually engage with people and get people to learn about our products through videos, carousels, ads, just to mix it up and see if what gets their attention to actually come through to our website. So there are a couple of different types of ads that you can do that are going to, I guess, target people along that customer journey path. So the first are awareness ads. So this is where you introduce your brand to potential customers who have never heard of you. So it's really important in these ads that we're actually building brand recognition. A lot of the time, I like to tell a bit about the brand story or what our key selling points are so that we can really get people to trust and engage with us. So, for example, a Tasmanian wine brand might like to reach wine lovers from across Australia. So they might run a video ad as an awareness ad that features the vineyard, the winemaking process, and the scenic landscapes. And so the idea is that the video would actually communicate and tell the story about that brand and their passion for creating wine. And then we would actually just have a really simple headline on the actual caption that says, "Discover Tasmania's best cool climate wines, try our award-winning Pinot Noir." So we're not being too sales heavy, but we're just kind of enticing them a little bit about what we have to offer while telling our story.
Laura, I've got a couple of questions before you move on. First one is, what is the audience network?
Good question. So the audience network is what Facebook and Meta refer to as marketplace, the games and apps features that they have on the platform. So it's all those other places and where they can place your ads through their actual channel networks.
And the second question, do you know if Meta or Google Ads are cheaper in terms of cost/purchase?
With that question, it's really hard because every business can be really different. So I've got one business that's in the e-commerce space, and for them, Google Ads works really well. It's way better than when we've used Meta Ads. Their target audience just responds better to those. Where I've got another business where the Google Ads don't do well at all, and our Meta Ads are what I guess thrive. And so what I would suggest is if you are thinking about that whole entire landscape is that you might actually have a combination of both so that we can reach people along that customer journey path and maybe trial different amounts to see what works best and what isn't working. And then with that, you'll start to get some data to understand, well, actually, this type of advertising works better for my customers. Maybe I'll invest a little bit more in that one and I'll just keep this one at that normal rate that I have been operating it at. Or for some businesses, they find both work. And so they actually put, I guess, the same amount of budget into both of those. So it is really about working out what's best for your target customers and what works for them in terms of that advertising. Something that I was just thinking of alongside that is that, nope, it's escaped my mind. What was I going to say? Oh, so something that I guess I like to think about when I am, I guess, talking to people about the different types of paid advertising is that particularly Google, we know that people are already going there because they're searching for something, like they have a problem and they're going there to solve it. And so Google Ads are a way for us to be able to give them that answer to that problem. So they're probably a little bit further along that customer journey piece, where when it comes to Meta Ads, a lot of the time we do need to tell people, I guess, who we are first before they actually make that purchase. It's harder to just go out there with a sales ad because they might not be in that mind frame to purchase. So that's where an awareness ad can be really important because we're building that brand reputation so that when they are in the mindset of needing that product to solve that problem, they actually think of your brand. But then we are finding more and more so with some products that the sales ads work really well because it kind of makes, and it depends on what your product is that it makes them feel like they need to have that. And so then they start to see it on their ads all the time. And after seeing that ad 7 or 8 times, they actually think, yeah, I actually do need that. And I'm going to make that purchase because I've seen that ad. Does that help
Follow-up.
answer your question?
I think so. So I think a follow-up to the Meta Google Ads is trialing both is the question being posed, perhaps an idea.
Yes, so I do highly encourage you, if you have a budget that it would allow for you to do both, definitely do both because they are targeting people at different parts of that customer journey. So I would trial both and maybe you start with the same budgets on both, but then adjust the budgets according to which one is working best for your target audience.
Thank you.
So yeah, the next type of ad that's really popular on Meta, and something that I didn't mention before, when you do run Meta ads, it is a good idea to even consider having the 3 types of ads running at the same time so we can capture them on that customer journey path. I do understand that sometimes we are limited by budget, so we aren't able to do that. but if you can, it is a really great way to make sure that we're getting the most out of all of those different customer journey stages and ensuring that we're getting people to our website and that return on investment. So with a sales ad, this is where we can encourage that immediate purchase. So we can be really salesy. We can offer that discount code. We can say shop now. So in this example, I've got sustainable, stylish, made in Australia. So I've got our key hero points, shop our new collection and enjoy 10% off today. So it's really saying to them, if you want to buy this now, we're going to give you 10%. If you don't, you're probably going to miss out on that 10%. So we're really trying to create that FOMO and get them to make that purchase. And then the last type of ad is the retargeting ad. So this is about re-engaging people who have interacted with us and potentially they've gone to our website, they've had a look, but then they actually haven't purchased. So using that meta pixel, we're able to see who has purchased and who hasn't, and then retarget them based on that information. So we can then say to them, we know that you've seen that. How about you go back? We've saved your cart so you can pick out right where you left off, and then they can click shop now and it goes back to the website where they might have added something to cart, and they can continue that checkout process. In terms of making sure that your ad campaigns are successful when it comes to that e-commerce space, is to really make sure that we're nailing that targeting. So what we're really fortunate with when it comes to paid advertising is that we can really customize what that audience looks like. So we can choose who it is that we're trying to reach based on the age, the places that they live, what they might be interested in, what their job title is. So really thinking about those customer personas that we created back in the beginning and making sure we're utilizing them in that targeting option. And while we're doing that, we're also making sure that that targeting option is correct. So if we find that something isn't working, maybe we take that off, but maybe we need to look at our customer persona again and just check that that is right. The other thing we can do is customize our audience. So we can retarget those people who have visited our website so that we are being front of mind to them. And the other feature that I really like when it comes to targeting on ad campaigns are lookalike audiences. So this is where we find people similar to your best customers and we upload that database list, and then Facebook goes and finds all of the people who have, I guess, similar interests to those core customers and targets those ads to them. So we're not breaching any privacy. We're just utilizing those email addresses that are already inputted into Facebook accounts for them to then go and cross-reference what are those interests those people have. Let's group them into the different categories, and let's say that they're the key interests that this business have in common. So we're going to find other people who also have those common interests and target the ads for those people.
Laura, a question, I'll jump in. So does Meta have a specific retargeting ad type?
No. So the way in which you would do it is actually through sales, but I just call the campaign retargeting. So you do it through sales, and then when you go into sales and you get to the audience piece, there's actually a section called Create New, and that's when you would then say Create New Audience. You'd click website, which then links to your pixel, and then you can say, I want to target people who have initiated a checkout in the last 30 days off my website. So it's not a specific campaign objective type because you do have to click sales, but once you're in sales, you can then choose to do your normal sales ad, or you can create a new audience based off those people who have reached our website. So then those features for retargeting are in there rather than the campaign objective.
Thank you.
One of the most important things when it does come to advertising is to make sure that your creative stands out. So this is your opportunity to really get people's attention when they are scrolling through. It's okay if it looks like an ad. We know that people are going to know straight away it's an ad, and that's what we want. So it is a good idea in this instance to add your logo over the top of the imagery, add some text that really makes the ad stand out from their normal feed of where you might have pretty videos or pretty standalone images. Where possible, try and use high quality visuals so that they really engage people from the get-go. Really have short and punchy copy, keep it simple and compelling. Strong call to action, so tell people exactly what to do next. So shop now, learn more, sign up. And it is always a really good idea, particularly on Meta, to have at least 5 to 10 creatives running per campaign so that we can test with our audience what they best respond to. So we might have a couple of videos, some single images, and some carousel posts, which is where we can have up to 20 images or video in a slide along to actually see what works best for that audience and what they respond to, so that we can then make sure that we're creating more creatives like that. It also means that then we've got other things for people to see. So maybe they might see your video ad, and then the next time they see your ad, they might see your single image. So they're not seeing the same content all the time, and it's keeping it interesting and engaging. And then budget wisely. So I'm a big believer in starting small and scaling up based on performance. So rather than just going all in and just hoping for the best, it's a good idea to set a reasonable budget. And then as you can see that they're working and you're getting that return on investment, increase it from there. Ideally, with our budget, what we want to find is that we're getting a return of an investment from it, and our ad spend is no more than 10% of the actual cost that we're spending of the revenue that we are earning back into our e-commerce website. It is a really hard space, I guess, to choose that budget. In an ideal world, Meta and Google would want us spending $20 to $30 as a minimum per campaign. But I do understand that most of us are small businesses and we can't do that. And if we are, I guess, trying to only target a small amount of people, or maybe a smaller location base of people, it is okay to actually start with a lower ad spend of that $10, $15 and build up from there once we can start to see those results. And then test and improve your ads. So when we do ads, don't just set them up and then forget about them. Make sure that you're always analyzing and optimizing them. I suggest logging on every 2 to 4 weeks to actually just check how are they performing? What is that click-through rate like? What's that return on ad spend? Are there some things that I could do? Can I see that an ad has creative fatigue? So I might need to add in some new creatives. Can I adjust some of the language? Maybe you've done a sales theme and you've got a couple of days left, so you might adjust the wording to be like final days or final countdown until the sale ends, hurry, offer ends Monday. And then if their ad's not performing well, turn it off. Don't keep it on, because you don't want to be wasting your ad spend on something that's not working. And then the ones that are working, maybe that's when you increase that budget, because we can see that that's drawing people in and it's making people actually purchase. Are there any questions around that?
Not so far. We've just reached 7, but I think we'll keep going. It'll be great to get through the next chapter.
Yeah, sorry, I've only got a couple more slides, and I
No, this is
didn't realize
excellent.
on a power roll.
Perfect. No, this is fantastic, Taihlaura.
So just the last bit is all around some other ways to boost sales, just to get you thinking in this space. So the first is email marketing. So this is probably one of the most effective and cost-efficient strategies when it comes to driving traffic to our websites and increasing our conversions. I know for most of us, we do feel like sometimes email marketing can feel a little bit pesky, but when we actually do look at the results, no matter what the industry is, and particularly in this e-commerce space, it actually has the highest conversion value. So in e-commerce in particular, it's 88% of conversions come through email marketing. So it's an incredibly powerful tool. So there's a couple of things around it to make sure that we're supercharging it for the best results. So the first is to build a quality email list. So this is where we entice people to actually sign up on our website through sign-up forms or pop-ups. Potentially we might have lead magnets where we offer a free product, a discount code, or an ebook to get that email information off them so that we can then get them into our system. And then what we want to do is make sure that we're sending consistent, non-automated emails that focus on specific themes that keep your audience engaged. And then also utilizing automation to send targeted, personalized messages based on their behavior. And so these are often triggered at different times along that customer journey path. So I'll just go through each of those so you can understand them a little bit better. So regular themed emails, these are just something where we send them based on that sales theme. It keeps us top of mind, and also maybe talking about what we have to offer at that particular point in time. Something that's important to note is that we don't want to do these too often, as we don't want to overwhelm our subscribers and get them to unsubscribe. So I'm not a big fan of emails that happen every day. Ideally, you want to be doing one a week or one a month. depending on your time, so that you're touching base with your customers, but you're not overwhelming them. So this might be if you went weekly, that you send them a newsletter that kind of has like maybe a new product feature in it, might have a link to one of your blog posts, or maybe you've decided you've got a bit of a theme that might relate to autumn, for example. And so these are your must-have autumn, items to brave the new cooler weather. Or we've launched this new tea and it's all about what that actual tea does for you and what it's going to solve. It's a really good idea within these emails that we personalize them so that people feel like that it was tailored exactly to them. And this is where that customer persona comes in again, because we're going to be utilizing language that talks to them and makes them feel special, because they know that that's a word that they use and that they're having a conversation with you, particularly if you do have a bricks and mortar site, because if they're in store and they're having conversations with you, they want it to feel like it's just the exact same when they receive that email. So utilizing the same language there is really important. Keep your emails short and impactful. So try not to have too many key messages in that email. It gets overwhelming and people then disengage with it. Try and stick to one theme at a time, as that's what will work best. And ensure your emails are mobile optimized, as most people actually check their inboxes on a mobile. So this is an example of someone who sent their regular email. We can see that they've got tabs up the top to some of their different key products. And then they've got some exclusive news that then scroll down to actually tell us what that news was about. The other type of email that's incredibly powerful are automated emails. So these are things that we set up and then they run in the background when people do certain things on our website. And so this could be things like a cart abandonment email. So somebody abandons their cart. It then triggers that in a couple of hours, we'll send them an email to say, hey, we noticed that you didn't complete your purchase. Maybe we offer them an incentive to go back and complete their purchase, or maybe we'd sell them something about that product that might entice them to actually complete that purchase as they've learned some more information. We also want to set up some for post-purchase. So when a customer makes a purchase, you might like to thank them. And so you can send an email saying, we really appreciate you supporting our small business. It means the world to us. And then you might also set up one that also recognizes if a customer has made 2 or more purchases, to say, thank you for not supporting our business. Thank you for supporting our business more than once. Like, you are really helping achieve our dream of sustainability in this space, for example. And then alongside that, you might also set up some automation emails that actually welcome them when they do subscribe. So if they've subscribed to our email marketing list, we can say, thank you for joining in our unique group, and we can name our email marketing list just to have a little bit of fun with it and just introduce a little bit about what we have to offer. And if you have used a lead magnet in that actual way to entice them to sign up to our email marketing, that's where we would then add that trigger within that email. So just an example of an abandoned cart email. So I've gone onto a website, I've added these items to cart, and then I've jumped back off. And so then a couple of hours later, I've received this email to my inbox that just tells me that I've left something behind, and that if I want to, I can quickly jump back in and make that purchase. So it's an easier process for myself. Alongside emails, loyalty programs are really popular and a great way to encourage repeat business. So reward systems work because it makes customers feel like they can return and continue shopping with you. They're more likely to spend more because they know that they're earning points or earning rewards that are going to help them with future purchases. It creates them engage and interacts with your brand. And it also just helps expand your reach, because sometimes if you've got referral programs in place, it's like they can get a voucher for referring someone, and you're also meeting a new customer that may not have come across you otherwise. So just a couple of different reward systems that you can put in place. So the first are encouraging repeat purchases with point systems. So these reward customers for purchases they make with points, so they can redeem for discounts or for certain products for free, or for a certain dollar value. So how it generally works is that customers earn points for every dollar spent, or for a specific action like signing up, leaving a review, or sharing on social media. Over time, these points accumulate, and you can decide what that time frame looks like and what that when they can then be redeemed on future purchases. So for example, every time you earn 100 points, you get $10 off. And you might even then decide that that's only valuable if it's on only valid on full price items. So the more that you can encourage people to earn their points, the more likely they're going to then spend more. So you could even create some tiered rewards so that it encourages people to make that higher purchase or add another item to their cart so that they can actually redeem their reward. So this is just an example of how people can earn points. So they get 1 point for every dollar they spend. They get points for signing up to SMS, and then they get 50 points if they refer a friend. And then every time they get 100 points, they get that $10 off. Another popular way to do a referral program is through a VIP level system. So this is where you have different levels, and each level is increased based on the total value spend within that 12-month calendar. And that 12-month calendar is normally a rolling calendar about when they actually signed up to that program. And so what it encourages them to do is that every time they make a repeat purchase, it adds to their VIP program. And so then they can potentially go up in rewards and get more value for their money. So one of the most popular ones in this space is Country Road, and I think they excel in this space. So they have their member, bronze, silver, VIP, and VIP platform. Platinum, so they actually say how much you have to spend to be that level member, and then this is what you actually receive when you're on that membership tier. And so what we find is people are often checking to see, well, how much more do I need to spend in order to go up from the bronze to the silver tier on my next purchase? I might make sure that I do that so that I then start to get the rewards from silver instead. Country Road are also super clever because when it comes close to you actually being on your anniversary date for your tiers, they'll send you an email saying if you spend $200 by this date, you'll retain your status. If you don't, you'll drop back. And so what that does is then people don't want to lose the status that they've earned. And so they go and jump on and they make a purchase to that value to ensure they retain that VIP level. And then a referral program. So this is really important for encouraging existing customers to spread the word and bring in new customers by offering rewards to them. So the way it works is that a customer might refer a friend and then they both earn a reward. So they might get 15% discount as the referrer, and then their friend gets $10 off the first order. And so we can actually track those referrals through a unique referral link to ensure both parties get their rewards, but also check then who out of those parties are redeeming the rewards. So for some businesses, they even have it that if that friend actually makes the purchase, that's when you get the discount as a referrer. If they don't actually complete an action, you don't get that discount. So you can also look at making those rewards stackable. So the more people that they refer, maybe it's the more that they earn, or the better of a percentage they get off those products. So this is an example of where they've got to refer a friend. If you give $20, you get $20. So give your friends $20 off their first order of $100, and then you'll get $20 for each successful referral. So what they're doing here is saying you can send this on to as many friends as possible. If they then make a purchase, we'll recognize that and we'll send you a $20 gift voucher for every single successful one. And then offer birthday or anniversary words. So this is about really, I guess, celebrating your customers' special moments by offering them rewards on their birthday or their anniversary of their first purchase. So we would just send an email offering them a discount or a free gift to make them feel appreciated. And this just helps them feel like you value them as a customer. So this is just an example where they get an extra 5% off because it's their birthday, and they can open their gift and feel like it's something different that they might not have got. And then lastly, just quickly touching on influencer marketing. So this is really important in the e-commerce space because it creates another voice for people to hear about our product and tap into the audience that might have alignment with who our customer profile is, but reach them who may not have actually heard about our business yet. So what we want to do is partner with influencers that actually align with our business values and ethos and have a target audience that we know we want to tap into or grow into. And so this is where we're going to work with them to actually promote our products to their followers. And so as part of that, you might also do some affiliate marketing. So this is where you might say to them that they actually get commission for every sale that comes through their discount code, as an example. So just some examples of some local influencers and some Australian influencers who are working with different brands, and in their text and in their videos, they're actually talking about why they work with that brand and then the discount that you can get with them. You will notice that they are normally a brand collab because they do actually have to say that they are a paid partnership with that particular brand. So they have to call out that they are paid for that particular role. And that is the end of the presentation. I do apologize. I feel like I did power through that last bit because I was conscious of the fact that we had gone past 7 o'clock. But I will stop sharing and see if you have any questions.
Fantastic, Taihlaura. Thank you. That was a really great presentation. So what I might do now is just finish the recording in case anyone wants to ask a question. So I'll just do that right now. Fantastic.